Hi guys, I'm back. It's me, and welcome to another edition of Nik at Night. This is gonna be a sports related edition because sports are my favorite thing to talk about. And it's been a lot going on in the news today. So I woke up this morning to see that Richard Sherman has had an incident with the police. Thank goodness he is okay. The police were called and he was apprehended and he was taken to jail. But thank goodness he was not, harmed in the process, fatally harmed in the process. Um, it all sounds very sketchy. I don't want to speculate, but they were saying that it was he was reeking of alcohol, and there was some type of disturbance with him and his in-laws and his wife. What was more disturbing than anything was the 911 call with his wife. Everybody is not meant to work in customer service. Everybody certainly is not meant to dispatch for 911, and that 911 caller needs to be fired. That is not her calling. She was too busy trying to tell his wife what she can't do and how she needs to act, and it was just horrific, absolutely horrific. That lady needs to, I say she needs to lose her job because it's ridiculous. The way she talked to that lady, no, that is not the job for you. Anyway, so there was Richard Sherman and his incident. And then I heard about Dwane Haskins, former quarterback at the Washington football team, and his incident with his wife, allegedly, in Vegas at the beginning of July. Now, let me just say this. I believe women and men need to keep their hands to themselves. I just want to commend this young man because I don't know too many dudes that will allow themselves. I don't know how she pulled it off. But this woman, his wife, these are young people. She's 23, he's 24. These are young people. But she socked him in his lip, split his lip, and knocked his tooth out. Now I don't know what kind of heavy-handed, strong-armed woman this is he done married, but he might want to rethink this. How you let some? Okay, so they were in Vegas. I'm gonna assume there was some alcohol involved. I'm gonna assume that somebody was under the influence. I mean, I don't know how. I don't know how he. I don't know if she sucker punched him. I don't know. But whatever she did it. And apparently, he didn't retaliate. Kudos to him. Because, if you big enough to pass a lick, you big enough to take one. That's what I was taught as a woman, as a young girl. Don't put your hands on nobody if you don't want them to return the favor. So I implore all women, keep your hands to yourselves. The same way I tell men, keep your hands to yourselves. I don't care what a person says to you. You don't react with fisticuffs. Okay? Anyway, Sister Girl's mugshot has been plastered all over social media. And if I was him, because apparently they were in Vegas supposedly to renew their vows, which was odd because they had just recently got married, but whatever. He may want to be thinking about an annulment or a divorce or something like that. Because, you just can't be hitting me, splitting my lip, and knocking my tooth off out. What kind of... Anyway. So listen, the meat of my video today is gonna be about Floyd Mayweather, his relationship with Tank Davis, and his relationship with Devin Haney. So it just came to me one day because This situation is eerily similar to something else that happened years ago, early 90s in the music industry. I'll say early to mid 90s in the music industry. And I'm just wondering if this is going to pan out, if their situation is going to pan out like the music industry situation panned out, that I'll get to later. So there's Devin Haney, there's Tank Davis, and there's Floyd Mayweather Jr. So Floyd Mayweather Jr. is the legend, the boxing legend, who's still out here making loads of money because people think they can beat him, and they cannot. Anyway, he's a legend, and he has his own promotional company. And Tank Davis, new up and coming exciting fighter, is his prize fighter right now. That's the prize of his stable right now. He has other boxers, but Tank Davis is the one for him right now. Now, before Tank Davis came along, he had a really good relationship with one Devin Haney, who is also an up and coming boxer, very popular, holds a belt, and just happens to be in the same weight class as Floyd's fighter, Tank Davis. Now, what's interesting about this is Devin Haney has had a relationship with the Mayweather family since he was a young boy. Devin's been in the boxing gym for forever, and he's actually had a very close relationship with Floyd and his father, Big Floyd. At one time, Floyd Sr. was actually training Devin Haney. Well, now Devin's dad is his trainer, and I think he has another trainer in his corner, but he's moved on from the Mayweather clan, but they are still, cool, close, and I want to say, they have a good relationship. Now, I find this interesting because I know Floyd would have wanted Devin to be a part of his stable, but Bill Haney, who's Devin's dad, decided not to sign with Mayweather Promotions, and they actually had another deal with somebody else that I'll care not to mention because they no longer have the deal with him. So Devin Haney is out here being a free agent basically. But the interesting thing about it is Floyd Mayweather has had his hands in the building of both of these boxers. It parallels to me Puff Daddy, Mary J, and Faith Evans. So I don't know if y'all know, but in the mid 90s, Puff Daddy worked for it wasn't Def Jam. Who did he work for? Uptown. He worked for Uptown, and on Uptown he started working with Mary J. Blige, young Mary J. So for Mary's first two albums, which are my personal favorites, Puff Daddy was her executive producer. And I'm calling him Puff Daddy because at that time, he was Puff Daddy. Now, since then, he's changed his name to Puff, to Diddy, to Puff Love, to a whole bunch of other stuff. Kind of similar to Floyd when he was, Pretty Boy Floyd. Then he changed to Floyd Money Mayweather, and now he's like Floyd TBE, the best ever, whatever. So these gentlemen are full of themselves, but the big but is they can back it up. They both can back it up. So initially Floyd was working, well, I don't want to say Floyd, the Mayweathers were working with Devin Haney, just like Mary J was working with Puff. Well, it turns out Puff got fired from Uptown. And when Puff got fired from Uptown, Mary didn't go with him because Mary wasn't his artist. Mary was signed to Uptown. Well, who did Puff have as his first lady of Bad Boy? Enter Faith Evans. Faith Evans, to me, is the equivalent of Gervonta Tank Davis. See where I'm going with this? Okay, so who has had the better career? And I'm speaking of Mary J and Faith Evans. So I love them both. Both ladies have outstanding catalogs. Outstanding catalogs. Both ladies have been groomed by Puff. But Mary J. Blige has some kind of way crossed over while still keeping her grounded cultural influence. She's a worldwide star. Now, Faith Evans is worldwide too, but she's just not as big as Mary J. The thing about Faith is Faith has a better voice than Mary J. Similar to Devin and Tank. So Tank is still with Mayweather, a la Puffy and Faith. But Devin Haney seems like he's having the bigger worldwide appeal. I'm thinking he's going to end up being the bigger worldwide star, a la Mary J. Blige, while Tank has wonderful, phenomenal knockouts, wonderful fights. I think Devin Haney is going to end up being the bigger star. Now, Tank to me is Faith Evans. Faith has the better voice. Tank has the better knockout performances. But who does the world acknowledge more? Mary J. Blige. Now, we've yet to see if the world is going to acknowledge Devin Haney more, but I just think it's a very, very good comparison to see, to monitor this for the next couple of years to see if it pans out the way the Mary J. Puff Daddy and Faith Evans saga ended up panning out. I think it's similar. If you were, around during mid-90s, late 90s, and you saw how all that went down, and, we just sit back and look over the years and see what transpired, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this transpires. Floyd had his hand in the beginning of both these young men. Devin Haney decided to go his own way. Mary J didn't really decide to go her own way. She just had to because she was contractually obligated to Uptown, so she couldn't deal with Puff. They reunited later on in a few of her later albums, and they're still cool and still close to this day. But she ended up having to leave Puff, and that may have been the best thing for her in terms of her worldwide, superstardom. So I'm thinking the same is going to be said for Devin Haney. I think Tank is going to always kind of be in the shadow of Floyd. Floyd's going to make sure of that, for one. But I think he's kind of always going to be in the shadow, and he won't be able to break out of it as long as he's there under Mayweather Promotions. And that's fine. Just like Faith Evans is the bomb.com in her own right. I love Faith. To me, again, she has the better voice than Mary J. It's just something about Mary J, though. It's just something about Mary J. And that's how I feel about Devin. It's just something about Devin Haney. Don't know what it is just yet. But I think in the long run, he's going to be the bigger star. You guys tell me what you think down in the comments. I will talk to you all next time. I'll see you later.